Hi. So today I wanted to make blueberry muffins because I had blueberries in my freezer. I didn't have any muffin tins because they're all in my restaurant. So I took frozen blueberries and I took a tablespoon of flour and I stirred the blueberries in that tablespoon of flour. You can see they have just a teeny bit of flour on them, and that helps keep the blueberries from sinking to the bottom of your bread. I already have my flour measured. This is 1.5 cups of flour and 1 teaspoon of baking powder and 1/2 teaspoon of salt. That's what's in there. Now, I pick these up on dollar auctions all the time. This is just a pretty little glass cup because what I do is I break my egg into this cup and look at it to make sure that it looks okay. And it does look okay. It's in my flour now, but that's okay. They'll all be together later. I wouldn't recommend doing that on a regular basis, but anyway. All right, so my butter and sugar is creaming and I'm gonna pop this on high. The other thing I did before I started recording was I greased and floured a loaf pan. Since I don't have muffins, I'm going to make this into a blueberry loaf cake and it's gonna be delicious. So, butter and sugar is creaming. Our pan is prepared. You should always prepare your pan first. Once the butter and sugar start doing that, you want to add your eggs one at a time. And again, I break it in this little cup so I can see what it looks like. So I'm gonna grab another egg, and if you hit an egg straight down on the counter, it usually comes out better for you than trying to crack the edge of an egg because sometimes that'll get shell. Okay, so here's another egg. I've examined it. Trust me, it looks fine. So we're gonna pop this on high again. And that is, I need a rubber spatula. So, here, you look at me, oops, and there goes my little tripod dealie. I think the iPhone 11 is maybe a little heavy for that, but there's that going on there. And I am going to go and get my rubber scraper so that I can scrape down the edges of this. So I may have to give up on this tripod, possibly. No, I've got it against the, it looks like R2-D2 had a really bad accident, but we'll just leave that there for now. I'm gonna run this way. How was that? Okay, now I'm gonna stop my mixer, and I'm gonna turn this camera over this way again so you can see what I mean by scrape down the bowl. So I lift the head up and you can see the beaters are all, they have this butter and sugar and now an egg, and it's all combining and creaming and getting happy and wonderful. And so it's really important to scrape down the sides of your mixing bowl because otherwise everything has a little congregation on the bottom of that mixing bowl. And you don't want to do that. You want to break up that congregation down there, and we won't talk about groups right now. And there goes my mixer paddle because that's what kind of day it's going to be. All right, so we're going to turn that on again and we'll zip it up a little bit. Get that get a little more of this stuff off the side and scrape it in there. I'll just hold that over there for a minute. Okay, so then once that first egg is incorporated, that's when you can start to add the second egg. And this really does need to be incorporated really well. So I'm gonna let that do that. You really wanna do that until the sugar, butter, and eggs become lemony and ribbony, and that's a really important aspect to your loaf bread. So this is starting to look pretty good, and I don't think I want to grab this thing again and show you, but I'm going to drop this in again. You can kind of see the mixer here. See that pretty yellow? That's the sort of lemony, ribbony, and I have something else in the oven that I have to take out. So I'm going to start this on low. I added the other egg, now I can put that away. And I'm going to gradually increase the speed so that incorporates. Just gonna pop over here to shut off the button. And I'll pop this button. Okay, so got that thing out of the oven. Oh, this is creaming up very nicely. In here I have lemon juice. It's the juice of a lemon. And I have a tablespoon here. It has some flour on it, but really doesn't matter because everybody is gonna all get together. So I wanna get a tablespoon of lemon juice into my deal, which I just did right there. Now, I also have measured out a half a cup of milk. You can use half and half. I like buttermilk. That's what I like. And so I have buttermilk in here. Just like the taste of buttermilk, I like what it does to cakes. It makes the crumb real tender, and I like that. So I'm going to slowly add a little bit of milk, and then I'm going to begin to add my flour. And then I'm going to turn this back down to stir so that I don't get flour all over my face. But I'm going to add just a good portion of this cup and a half of flour, teaspoon of baking powder, and half teaspoon of salt. And I'm going to let that incorporate right there. And that's doing its job nicely. Then I will add some more of the milk. And we'll just let that keep going. We don't want to let it go too long right now or it's going to make it tough. So I want to get the rest of this in there. So we just want to get kind of all that flour into the flour that we measured out. We want to get it into our bread. And we're doing that. So now that bowl is empty. Okay, now we're going to add the rest of our buttermilk or milk or cream. And if you are baking, my recommendation is to use as much fat as you possibly can, okay? Whole milk and half perform better. In my opinion, this would not be a recipe, though, that you would want to use heavy cream with, but whole milk and half perform better in recipes than non-fat milk. I don't know why. Fat and flour really get along together. Fat and flour get along together. That's why, you know, when you want to be successful at some of these new health care systems that reduce your carbohydrates, you have to separate the two. Just like, you know, kids on a playground. If they're not getting along good and one's causing problems for the other, like excessive weight gain, then you got to just take the fat and play with the fat and have the fat be your friend and take away the flour. That's kind of how it works. Bacon would also be our friend. However, I'm not going to put bacon in my bread today. Although I did put sweet sausage in a carrot cake a couple weeks ago, and actually it was delicious. Okay, I had also zested, the zest of that lemon was also in the flour mixture. Now I'm shutting this off. I'm bringing the paddle back up. I'm going to take the paddle off because I'm going to shake it. I'm going to get my spatula and I am going to clean off this paddle. It does have the scraper thing. I don't know that I'm all that impressed with that because stuff still wants to congregate in the bottom of the bowl, and that just is a classic problem with mixers. It's just what it does, and you just consider that as part of your waste in a recipe. Okay, so now I'm going to pull this bowl off because I want to show you this beautiful, lovely lemon batter that we've mixed up. Now we're going to put the blueberries in. Boom. We don't want too much flour from those blueberries to mix in here. So we're going to pick some out. We're just going to pick them out of the bottom. This is going to bake, so that's why I don't have gloves on. It's going to bake at 350 and the internal temperature is going to be well past 135. So there isn't any danger of that right now because it is going to be cooked. If you were going to feed people raw blueberries, you should always use gloves with ready to eat food. Okay, so now we toss these blueberries in here, and they are going to color my batter just a little bit because they are frozen, and I'm probably going to have to increase my baking time. All right, so now the last thing to do is to pour this batter into your prepped loaf pan. Here's one of my tricks. Greasing a loaf pan or buttering a loaf pan with a stick of butter or some oil and rubbing it around with, my mom used to use wax paper or whatever. Now we have handy dandy sprays, spray vegetable oil. So this actually has been sprayed with coconut oil. And then I put the flour in because then I don't get butter all over my hands. I'm a messy person and I'll get plenty on my hands before the day is done. I really don't need any help. So I'm spreading this batter out into our lemon cake. And then after this, I'm going to make a little bit of a crumb topping, but I'm gonna pop this in the oven right now. So I am gonna scrape the batter off once again with my fingers, but this is gonna be baked at 350 for probably an hour, hour and 10 minutes, because I have frozen blueberries, so it's gonna take a while for that to be compensated for. So there's that, and this is going in the oven. I was pounded on the counter. I don't know why. It's a thing that everybody used to do, and I don't know if it's necessary to really get the bubbles out or not, but I do it, and there it is, and it's going into the oven. 350 degrees in the center oven rack for an hour, 50 to 60 minutes. I'll check it after 50 minutes, but I'm pretty sure it's not going to be done. Just because I know that the blueberries are frozen. Okay, so I really didn't rinse this out either because it doesn't need to be rinsed to make the crumb topping. This crumb topping is gonna be a little fun thing that we're gonna do for the top of the bread. I love crumb topping. I'm gonna put, here I'm not gonna measure because I'm just using a spoon. Because you know what? I love crumb topping. So there goes the crumb topping. Well, that's part of it. The other part is equal amounts of sugar. So I want to use my raw washed sugar for this because I already had the other sugar in creaming the, okay, so there's a heaping tablespoon and there's another heaping tablespoon. Raw washed sugar is really a beautiful thing. It's cane sugar. We'll just put a smidge extra because I think there was more flour. Okay, it's cane sugar, and cane sugar is delicious. And cane sugar, while still being sugar, does not cause the same sort of reaction in your body that beet sugar does. And if you want to know more about that, please Google it, because I am not a healthcare professional. I have a little bit of lemon juice left. I'm going to pour that in there and mix that flour and sugar together. And then I'm going to get some of my Amish butter from the Wintergreen Food Co-op here in Albert Lea. And I'm going to get some of that Amish butter onto the end of a knife. And if you're going to attempt to make this yourself, if you're a kid watching this, I want you to get help from your parents. Please do not take out knives or use hot ovens. You could make the batter. I can post this recipe, and you sure can make the batter. It would be really fun. It'd be a great way for you to measure and use measuring spoons. But when it comes to turning on a hot oven, no, you need your parents to help you with that, unless you're, over a certain age and your parents say, yeah, you can go ahead and give that a try. A lot of parents might be home right now because of the situation we're in. Maybe they're not. But anyway, if you're a child and love to bake, I applaud you. And so you can get this all ready. You can get the pan ready. Measure all the ingredients. You can also use a butter knife, of course, to get this butter off of the big stick. And this is wonderful butter. I absolutely love this butter. You can just taste the farm in that butter. It's wonderful. Okay, so now I'm gonna scrape this down just a little bit. And what we want is we kind of want it to look like we do when we're making pie crust. So it should have some little flat pieces and et cetera, et cetera. And then the other thing that it's gonna get is it's gonna get the rest of these blueberries to top the top of the bread. So I'm just gonna give it a little stir with those blueberries, not too terribly much. And I'm gonna lift the head up off my mixer. This didn't get too dirty this time, which is great. So now I have this topping that I'm going to use for on top of that lemon loaf. And I'm not going to maybe show you that, or maybe I should. I don't know. I don't know if it's quite time to get that bread out of the oven, but what the heck. Let's pull it out and give it a whirl, and I'll show you how we're going to just press that topping in there. All right. So, once again, kids, if you want to surprise your parents, or you want to start baking, make sure that you have someone at home that can help you. Now, this is going to be quite a really heavy top. They suggested in the recipe that you put the rest of the blueberries on top. And so I'm doing that. I may not use all of them. It seems like a lot, but hopefully that bread will raise up. You don't want to overpower your bread in there too terribly much, but you do want to create something beautiful and tasty. So we'll finish up with that and finish up with the crumbs. There's a few crumbs left. That's okay. I'll do something with those. I'll put them on ice cream later because I like that. And, we all have different things that we like. My husband likes to eat graham crackers with cream cheese and jam. It's kind of sort of like a pseudo cheesecake, right? Okay, so now I'm going to put this back in the oven. Yeah, it wasn't in there very long, so I actually have my hands on it. But you should use pot holders, just saying. Okay, so this is our lemon loaf. When it's done, I will come back. I don't have one to pull out. I haven't gotten quite that slick yet. But anyway, here's the lemon blueberry loaf. I'll take a picture of it later. Have a great day. Keep yourselves busy. Shop on Pinterest. Challenge yourself to use things you have in the cupboard already, okay? Or in the freezer, like my case of the blueberries. So we'll see you later. Thank you. Bye.